a new episode of Keefer's Corner. I'm Jeremy Naggart, joined by Coach Keefer. We have completed the regular season. We start the playoffs on Friday. Coach, how are we feeling on Wednesday of a playoff week?
We're feeling good. It's an exciting time of the year. I thought our kids played really well on Friday. I thought we played a good four-quarter game against Amery. Amery's record was not impressive, but they had some very good athletes, and the fact that they scored 62 against Somerset in week 8,
right,
and they'd won 2 out of their last 3 games. To me, I think they definitely had our attention. So I thought we played a good, complete game. Started out pretty fast and sustained it, and they are good. I mean, they had some challenges, and they had some really good linemen, and they had some speed and pretty good quarterback, and the Hopkey kid's obviously pretty talented.
So when we played them last year at their place, we really struggled with their run game.
Mm-hmm.
And they only got, in Hopkey's case, a year older, stronger,
mm-hmm.
better.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ended up with 25 carries for 55-ish yards. Talking 2-point small yards per carry.
Right.
What was the game plan going in to limit the damage that he was going to do to us?
We did a good job up front, but we also did add a man to the box. So we had one more defender than we would typically have. We moved Cal Smith up, and Cal played, we called it a corner position, but he was really, in the box and a kind of a C-gap defender. And then we also took, in different formations, we just had an extra run defender, basically, is what we did, which was good. And him and Colton Hush kind of switched against certain formations, just to maximize both of their strengths. So that was helpful. I thought our D-line did a really nice job of playing with their hands. I felt like we kept it simple, so our kids played fast. So that's a big deal.
So as well as our defense played, who was awarded player of the game?
Well, awarded player of the game was Cal Smith, who really played. He played well. I would also highlight Jackson Johansson. Jackson played a really, really good football game, as did Noah Sarar. Those guys are, they're consistent performers. I thought it was maybe Jackson's best game, and Cal really played well too. So and they were both close. It was a close vote. So that was the D side.
And Gavin, I think, had over a dozen tackles as well.
Gavin played well, and I thought Desperado Vienendahl played well too. He's doing a really good job. He's a problem for people as well. Extends his arms. He's long and unbelievably athletic. So really excited about where we're going in that direction.
Flipping over to the offensive side of the ball, I believe Mason ended up with 4 touchdown passes. So he went from 16 on the year to 20 on the year, which is a new Blackhawk record.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Dylan DeMott's had that record previously. And then Mason, I think, had a rushing touchdown as well. Can I ask you about right before halftime?
Sure.
Offensively? Well, actually, defensively. We get a stop.
Yep.
It's going to be 4th down. The clock runs for a while.
Yeah. Then we took a timeout
right,
with the thought they still had the ball.
Right.
And I thought, hey, let's try to block a punt.
Okay.
We're going to try to block a punt.
Okay.
In retrospect, we could have tried to block the punt and given ourselves another shot, maybe to get a Davis field goal.
Do you need me to patch my audio into your ear set so I can say, count the timeout, take the shot? Because that's what I would be saying.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
And that's typical from how I handled things when I stood really close to you on the sideline.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, and it's a legitimate thing. Part of it too, I was just didn't want to. We also gave up a home run against Central,
right,
the week before, so there's a little bit of that in my brain.
Right.
And let's say we're not going to be getting too greedy here.
But we were going to hit the home run this time.
Well, that's what we were kind of hoping for. But
okay. But anyway, going back to offense.
Yeah.
A lot of guys played really well. Gavin had a catch that ranks as a top 5 catch that I've ever seen.
It was an amazing catch.
Yeah, it was really
good.
It
was, and I've seen a still photo of it, but our film, our huddle focus, doesn't really show it. And it was unbelievable. For him to go up with one hand and get it, and then get his foot down.
Right.
It was, absolutely an incredible catch. Yeah, that was super impressive.
And then, I mean, just overall, the offense, Mason doesn't get touched.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a quarterback that can just kind of sit back there. And there was one time that he was rushed and tried to throw it across his body, and it was an interception.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, what more can you want? Cal looked great as a tailback.
I thought, that was the thing that I was probably most impressed with in this game. Cal ran downhill really hard, and he's had some chances this year, but I don't think he's looked quite like that. And it's a great time for him to be rounding into shape, and we're obviously gonna, employ both him and, Logan. Logan does a nice job of reading blocks, and Cal does the same. Cal's running a little bit lower, maybe with a little more pop right now, and
less likely to make the second cut.
Right.
Logan's going to try to make a few.
Right. So, very excited about what that could bring us, and that's going to be an important thing moving forward, no doubt. Having a little bit more physicality in our run game, big deal.
And special teams wise, who was offensive player of the game?
Offensive player of the game was Cal Smith.
So offense and defense.
He did get offense and defense. Cal ran really hard, and I don't know what his stat line was, 13 for 80, something like that.
Yeah, it broke 80. And most of those came in the second half.
Yeah. And
we were just trying to.
Yeah, we were really happy to be able to run that ball, and that was a big deal. And he's an extremely talented kid. There's no question about it. We're excited about his future as well.
I'm flipping to special teams. I think Sean only punted once, and it wasn't a good one. And then as far as the kick game, it's a great weapon to have.
It is a great weapon. He's had Davis has had a great year. He's 7 for 10 in field goals.
I don't think we've ever had that before.
No. 90% of his extra points, I think it's at 90 something, 24 out of 26 or something like that.
We've had good extra points.
We've had good extra point guys, but it's just we just did yesterday in practice. We had a big wind. It was kind of right out of the north. And we do what we do. We kick a few extra points, and we go. I have him kick one from the left, one from the right, and maybe we kick like 3 or 4 field goals. I put one spotted at the 35 in the middle of the field, and so it's a 52-yarder, and he just boom, right down the heart. Probably would have been good from 55.
And then you tell the story about how you can still make a 50-yarder.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
Oh, I'm too fat and old now, man. I can't do it.
But that used to be your thing.
I did. I think it was up till I was I don't know, when were you coaching? Because that was still a thing, right? I
think you could do it with the wind.
Yeah. Well, maybe with that wind I could.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing that we get to at the end of the regular season is the individual all-conference recognitions.
Yeah.
So a good list of kids here.
Mm-hmm.
First on the list, which I kind of pushed for and then hoped for against St. Croix Central, and then Mason didn't have his best game against St. Croix Central, but Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and very deserving, I think. If you look at Mason's statistics for the year, he's just under 2,000 yards. He counts for 27 touchdowns. He's got 2 interceptions, one being a meaningless throwaway. He has not fumbled the ball.
Right.
It's an unbelievable year. And leading us in rushing. When I said 2,000, I think he's thrown for 14 something, and he's rushed for over 500, 549 or whatever it is. And so, he's been lights out. And he's, the things that, everybody sees those things. What people don't see about Mason, they don't see his leadership. Yesterday we're doing a drill. He's Adam's Friendship's scout quarterback, and they're running a drill trying to get a lot of reps because we love to be efficient. And if you could just see him leading it, he's like a coach. Coach Nig was running the drill. It was a great drill, but Mason made the drill go because he's getting everybody up and going. And it's not like the coach has to do it. It's like we have a shared agenda, shared vision, which it's just huge. And he's really good to people. He's he demands, he holds people accountable, but doesn't have. I feel like he's a humble kid in terms of he treats everybody the same, and he doesn't act like he's above anyone.
And I think the thing that people don't realize about Mason, because he's like when he's at the volleyball games, he stands between these kids that are so tall. I mean, it's Tyler, it's Eli, and it's Sean, and so he looks like he's
Yeah, he's a little guy.
but he's not tiny. I mean, he's
No.
over 6 feet tall, right?
Oh yeah, he's 6. Yeah, he's all of 6'1". He might even be 6'2". And he's probably about 180 pounds. He's a strong kid too. I mean, he's really
and doesn't get sacked.
No.
Which is just the pocket presence thing in a high school kid. It's a hard thing.
He does have great pocket presence, but you also got to credit that offensive line. Those kids have done a really good job. I mean, if you stop and look at the number of attempts of passes, I mean, that's a really impressive thing. Now, things are going to change as we move into the playoffs. Where like the team we're going to play, Adams Friendship, they have some kids that really rush I mean, they're good up front. Their D line's very good, and we're trying to prepare for that. It's not going to be quite the same in some cases where you're going to be back there, having a perfect pocket all the time.
Well, and when he hasn't, he's found lanes to.
He does.
So moving on down that list.
Yeah.
So obviously Mason, offensive player of the year, and a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Nosar on both sides of the ball,
Yeah.
O-line and D-line. Did he do that last year? Or he was just one side.
He was one side last year, and he is like at the top of both lines. I mean, he was
Number one O-line, number two D-line.
Yes, he was very, very well thought of by the coaches in the middle border, and he's earned that. He's a great kid. Again, a great student. I mean, I think he's 4.0. If not, he's like right on the cusp of that.
Without knowing him, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, well, that's just the way he is, and he's just and again, another kid that's a great teammate. He works hard. You can count on him, and just does it right. All facets of his life, which is great.
Another two-way guy, tight end, D end, Eli Coonan.
Yeah, well, I think Eli stands out not just because of his impressive stature, but man, he makes plays. He makes a lot of plays, and he's a problem for people. They haven't been able to block him. He's been a great run player. He led our team in tackles.
He makes a lot of tackles.
That's never happened.
And
now part of that is we moved people around.
Right.
We had 3 different people playing Mike at different times of the year, and that usually is our leading position. But we've never had a D end lead us in tackles.
Well, and the thing too is because I think he ended up with 4 sacks. The amount of times that he's barreling down on a quarterback, where the quarterback has to make a choice, sometimes not a great choice for their team, to get rid of the ball before he hurts them.
Yeah, I'd have to go back through. You do the stats, and I do appreciate that. I cannot believe he only has 4 sacks.
Well, he's got a lot of tackles for losses.
I think there are a couple though, too, that maybe I don't know if we call them a tackle for loss. Like if a kid intends to pass and then he pulls it down and runs, it's still a sack. Yes or no?
We can debate.
I'm just saying, because I'm like, there's no way that kid has 4. But anyway,
right.
I do. He's just a huge impact guy,
right.
And at tight end, he had 6 catches for 90. We do have a lot of mouths to feed offensively,
right.
But he does a terrific job blocking, and he's a matchup problem for people. And he's had a little thumb injury that's coming back. He's got a much smaller, more workable thing on his thumb now, so we feel good about him, better about him returning and putting a stamp on that position through the playoffs.
Eli's an imposing dude, but Eli with a club, that's
there you go.
Too. All right, so moving on down, Colin Fritz, first team wide receiver, who has had, I think, 29 catches, 7 touchdowns, makes catches that the touchdown catch that he had on Friday, it wasn't a good ball. It was way behind him.
Yeah.
He just grabs it,
Yeah.
turns the other way, he's in the end zone.
He's made more. I mean, he has terrific hands, and just his body awareness, the way he can contort, catch a ball, keep his feet in.
Right.
He made an unbelievable catch at Somerset. He made a great catch on the south end zone.
Right.
I forgot
Both-
he got his feet in.
Both feet.
Just amazing plays. And the thing about Colin, he's a very good defensive player, but I really believe on the perimeter, if you watch him block, he is the most dominating blocker we've had at receiver.
Probably since me.
Well, come on. That's crazy talk. But
I didn't try to block. I tried
Fritz,
to run guys off.
Fritz, honest to God, will say things like, I would like to play offensive tackle. He loves to rep in drills and he just likes that part of the game, and he's very, very physical. We've really tried to have a good week, perimeter blocking, being physical, but keeping the hands inside, because we've been flagged too many times, and kids got to be, you got to be disciplined. But Fritz has just been so much more than his contribution, so much more offensively than just
those stats.
Catching the ball, right? He definitely blocks.
The last all-conference player, Davis Paulson, we've talked about what he's done and what he's been meant for this team.
He's amazing. I just heard that he was the middle border player of the year in soccer.
He's good at that sport.
What an amazing kid.
Yeah. And he,
athlete.
again, makes these tackles where he's the last guy. He did it on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Chases a guy down, tackles him.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe they did score in that possession, but the amount of touchdown-saving tackles that he's had, touchdown-delaying tackles,
right?
It's been really impressive. Right. Then 3 honorable mention guys. So Big Ty Hare.
Yeah, Tyler. I would say without a doubt, if you look at what Tyler, where he was, the level of play he was at as the first game of his junior year to the last game of his senior year, the ascension of his play is just taken off. He made a huge jump this year, and he's just continuing to get better and better. With Tyler, if you're gonna ask him to double team, or you're gonna ask him to down block, if he gets into your body, it's over. And he has done a remarkably good job of pass protection. Like one thing that has been good, like Mason stays in the pocket. And a lot of times with high school kids, those sacks come, and it's not really the offensive lineman's fault. For instance, if you're the quarterback and the offensive lineman is set here and the defender's out there, and then the quarterback runs outside of me, you're pushing them right to him. Right?
Yep.
So Tyler's done a good job of staying in position, and I think part of why we've had all this good, part of the reason is Mason doesn't just like leave the pocket willy-nilly. He makes good decisions. He will step up in the pocket. There are times that he'll escape on the outside, but usually it's like it makes sense when he does it. Right. So that's been really good. But Tyler has been very, very good in pass pro. He's still working on getting better at pulling. He's still getting better at trying to block second level. But I will tell you, the things that he does very well, and certainly very deserving. And it would have been awful nice to see him get the all-conference recognition. But I was glad that he got honorable mention, because that's a big deal too. Because they don't give out a bunch of them.
No, there's only I want to say.
Yeah, they literally. It's literally. I think it was that. Yeah.
Sean Van Zormen, honorable mention.
Yeah, Sean's had a terrific year. Obviously he's a big threat for us at receiver. He's done a fine job at corner, and he was right there at punter as well.
So is this for defensive back?
No, this was actually for receiver.
Oh, so it's on the wrong side of the sheet.
Oh, is that where they listed it?
Under defense.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that decision was made. We had discussed the offensive people, then we went back, and then it was a thing where you put the best people.
But he's been a huge weapon.
Oh, he's been huge. He's been huge.
And as a punter, because that was my thought where it was. I'm like, yeah, he could have been the all-conference punter.
Yeah, he was close. Statistically, he was within was less than a yard. But the thing that hurt Sean is he didn't have nearly the attempts that the kid that was the all-conference punter had. Many more attempts. And the kid from Somerset is a good punter. He had a punt that was one of the games that he must have had like a 77-yarder or something.
Shots. Or Donnelly?
It wasn't Donnelly. It's a kid named Lesha. Lesha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he had, maybe it was a crazy punt though.
Sean had a crazy one up here.
Yeah.
And then the last honorable mention, Colton Hush on defense.
Yeah, Colton's had a great year. He's pound for pound as tough as anybody really in the world. I mean, he's just a tough kid. And he had a great year for us. Good job in run support. Does everything that we ask him to do. He's a good communicator. Again, kid is very deserving. Hey, we had other kids that were really, really good players that didn't get recognized.
Right.
That you can't fall into that.
Right.
We have. I could list a few guys that are extremely talented and that anybody in the conference would take on their team. You take a Gavin Sell, you take a Cal Smith. Those guys are, amazingly talented.
Heimer was a name that I was surprised.
Heimer, yeah, absolutely. And it's never perfect. You don't get everybody. I think there's a way to go about that. Like how many people you nominate, and I've seen other people do it. If you nominate too many,
correct,
it actually hurts you,
right.
And you can't. So it's a balance. You try not to overdo it, but you got to reward the kids that earned the.
And I mean, I'm assuming it's the same as it was for basketball. You go in there, you say your piece about your kids.
Mhm.
You don't get to vote for your kids.
No.
So
No.
it's how they view your kids.
Right.
With a little bit of, hey, here's what they do for us.
Mm-hmm.
I sat through 3 of those basketball meetings, and there was one time we left with a kid that I was shocked that he was higher than the 2 other kids I nominated. And it was just like, well, that's how these things work.
Sometimes it does.
So looking ahead now,
Mhm.
I think the big disappointment was we won that game, we didn't get a home game.
Yep.
And the easy thing to do is to look at other things that have happened and say, well, that's why we didn't get a home game, or that's why we didn't get a home game. The Central loss to me didn't make us not get a home game. The thing that hurt us was that Somerset lost to Osceola.
That's true.
And I told you that Friday night because Somerset was going to be with us.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And
They
it
would
was
have been
gonna
in
be
the
worse
they
than
would have
us.
been in the northwest. Yep.
And that was going to allow, with the amount of teams that needed to be pulled, they were all going to need to be better than us.
Right. They'd
For
have
us
to
to-
pull someone from by them losing, they had to pull someone
someone
from
else. And
someone
they-
in, and they pulled. I don't know who that team was. If that team was Columbus, or if that was Adams, or
I would guess it was Columbus.
yeah, that
And
could
if-
be.
And if it's Columbus and out and Somerset in,
Mhm.
we're hosting Central.
True.
And so, I think that's an easy thing to look at and say, well, geez, if we would have won that game,
Another thing that was
been
close
fine.
is the Amherst. You heard that Amherst had
Correct.
an
An
illegal
eligible
player,
player.
wasn't there? They didn't realize it, but so their whole thing changed, and then what that did was the Dells are literally the largest team in Division 4, and if Amherst would have been in, that would have put
They
them
would have been out.
that would have put them up to Division 3, and there's another team from our region, that was seated above us. So there were, I doubt if there's another. I didn't go through every, there's 7 divisions, but I don't think that there could possibly be another region that has more wins than our
Yeah,
region,
it's-
because you got, or at least winning percentage. You look at, we're a 5 with 2 losses.
Right.
Okay. Central has 6 wins and they're a 6.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
lot-
We got loaded.
Rice
We're a loaded
Lake,
region.
Rice Lake. I mean,
It's
shoot,
3.
yeah, they're a
Yeah.
3 seed, with 6. So it's just, you never know.
So the luck of the draw has us going to Adams Friendship.
Yeah.
What do we know about it?
Well, we know this, that Adams Friendship has a really good defensive line, and they have a good offensive line. That is clearly the strength of their team. They also have a player that is a freak athlete, I would say. Trayvon Holloway is his name. Nice sized kid, like 6'1", 185. He's different than most high school kids in that he can run. He's very explosive, and he is their key offensively. They'll play him at quarterback. They'll play him at receiver. They'll run jets to him, and he has some gaudy numbers, right? But they definitely have some talent up front. So I mean, this is a good team. I will say this, that I don't feel like the competition that they play on a weekly basis is not at the same caliber as the Middle Border Conference, and I don't think that's like an arrogant statement. I think that objectively, if you look at some of the teams that they've played and you look at some of the teams that we're playing, I feel like we're battle tested. But all that stuff doesn't matter. It's how we're going to perform in Adams Friday night.
Right.
And I know our kids are really excited for the opportunity, and we just got to do our thing, and it should be a fun night.
And we'll plan to drive there and stream, but Adams is kind of in the middle of nothing.
Yeah.
And so cell service might not be strong enough to live stream. We're going to hope that it is, but that's kind of what we're dealing with. So you get home Friday night, Saturday morning seating meeting or seating release, and then Saturday afternoon Badgers.
Yeah. They didn't play great, that's for sure. Disappointing to lose, although they had a chance to beat Michigan State. Michigan State is nothing like they were last year.
Right.
They were both teams. Those are teams, if they played 10 times, they'd probably be 5-5. Wisconsin just didn't quite make enough plays. You know, couple turnovers that really hurt. You know, the one interception is like, what the heck was that one? But
The big fumble in overtime.
Yep, yeah, that was a big deal.
And then Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, boy, the Packers are they're not good right now.
We're gonna need to keep winning so you don't have to think about the Packers.
Well, that's right. Well,
you might lose all the hair.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We just want to keep on winning, whether the Packers are great or not.
Right.
But you're right. It's they got to get the offensive line stuff figured out, and then I don't know what's going on defensively. They seem to feel like they got good personnel. I think they probably do, but yet when we need big stops, the Pack has not been able to do that yet. So it is a marathon, the NFL.
Right.
It's week 6, and a lot of people are jumping off the bandwagon.
So you can tell us to relax. So you can spell it out.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but I don't think they're as bad. They can't be as bad as they've looked. They will have to get better. They got to shore up the offensive line, and they do have some coaching changes. The guy that was Stenovich is now their offensive coordinator, so I assume he's not in the day-to-day with the O-line, but he certainly should have a strong influence, you'd think, in getting those things solved, because if that doesn't get solved, nothing else is going to matter. Right. So they got, whether that's a personnel change or just figuring it out, we'll see. People are always like, hey, why aren't they playing this guy? Why aren't they playing that guy? It's their livelihood. And if you think coaches are playing, they're not playing somebody who thinks if they think someone's better, they are definitely going to play them.
Right.
Because it's millions of dollars for them. It's job security. So you don't, that's just, everybody's got the answer, but we're not there. People don't know unless you're there. So
anything else before we sign off for the week?
No, I guess I better say hi to hello to Will and the newest addition,
right?
Young Jack. So
that's
a lot of
Keefer
fun.
boys watching now.
That's right. Well, yeah, one's probably sleeping through it, but the other one's watching.
He's just gonna know your voice, and
Yeah.
if he doesn't, he's gonna know it soon enough.
Well, that's right.
All right.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you.
Wow, this is another week of Keeper's Corner, and hopefully we'll talk about a win on Friday night next week.
Sounds good.